My little bottom squirmed on the hard wooden pew. We were at a church retreat on Lake Coeur d'Alene. I was sandwiched between my mother and father. Rows of grown-ups closed me in to the front and rear. I could not see out of this cage. The droning of a preacher's voice mixed with the buzzing of a fan. The second hand of my father's watch ticked slowly around the dial. My eyes drifted to the retreat schedule in my lap. 1 to 2 p.m., afternoon worship. 2 to 5 p.m., free time. Free time was in all caps. Whoever made the program understood. Finally, the sermon clunked to a stop. I shot out the door and made a beeline for our cabin. Shoving my arm to the bottom of a big suitcase, I felt my swimsuit. I yanked it on and scampered down a path to the lake, leaving my jeans and t-shirt in a heap. I raced out onto a wooden dock beside the swimming area and spied my friends splashing by the shore. Without thinking, I jumped in to swim to them. I got the idea that I could swim by taking lessons at the community pool in Moscow. The water smelled strongly of chlorine, creating an inorganic, artificial clarity. I could see my toes, which were just long enough to scrape the rough concrete bottom. A teenager in a bright red swimsuit placed her hand beneath my chest and floated me around like a toy, explaining how to rotate my arms and kick. She guided me back to the edge where I attached like a magnet. The water of Lake Coeur d'Alene was nothing like the community pool. The second I pierced the skin, I was in an alternate universe, alive and green and teeming with aliens. It wrapped around me like cloying vines, as if to absorb me. I thrashed back to the dock and grasped for an edge, but my fingers slipped on the moss-covered logs. I extended my toes as far down as they would go, but felt nothing. The instinct to inhale was growing. I began to count. 10, 11, 12. I would not make it to 30. How short my life had been. How sad my parents would be. What might I have become? Shafts of light penetrated the surface like spotlights. Everywhere, life buzzed. Peace, as alien as the strange watery universe, flooded my soul. My arms relaxed. I felt my weightless body slowly sinking. I stopped counting. The lifeguard exploded the water, shattering my reverie. His arm clinched my waist like a vice. He tore me like a root from the soil, heaving me up on the dock with a single lunge. Hot, splintered wood stung my back. I squinted at the blazing sun, gulping draughts of air, trying to process what had happened. I had been snatched from a moment of intense intimacy. But who was that down there? The handsome prince wakening sleeping beauty from a curse? Or Judas betraying the Son of Man with a kiss? Should I send flowers or take out a restraining order? I rolled to my stomach and lifted myself up on my knees. Water dripped off the end of my nose and splashed onto the dock. Whatever was down there would be back, but for now, I would have to set aside the mystery of my death and face instead the mystery of my life. I took a deep breath, rose to my feet, and thumped off the dock to join my friends. We shouted and shoved and whooped and hollered, tiny droplets sparkling like diamonds in the Idaho sun. I hope you enjoyed that video. I made it a while back and I just wanted to share it. Obviously, it raises the whole issue of death and life and how do we think of death and how afraid of it should we be. The thing that really stuck with me from that experience was how not scary it was to die. And I realize it may sound overly dramatic to think back to when I was a child and to think, oh, you nearly died. I don't think my parents even know that that happened to this day. It was just like that. But in my experience, in my memory, it was very clear that I was that close to drowning, and of course that happens to kids all the time. And lots of people get rescued, some people drown, but the thing that really struck me was that surrendering to death was not that scary. And the way I end that video is with the question, okay, for now I get to sort of postpone this mystery of death. She'll be back, right? I'll get my chance. But now I have to face the mystery of life. This week, I got this really dumb, lingering cough, and it's making me tired. And that, on top of the political news right now, is just depressing me. And this morning, this is a Sunday, I just really kind of blew the day. I gave in. I gave in to the despair. I napped and I listened to horrible news and I just kind of got sucked into that. And in some ways, my answer to do you want to live this day was no today. I'd rather check out. And I've thought many times that there are far more ways to kill yourself than just putting a gun to your head. Are ways to check out of our lives, to disconnect, to not fully be ourselves, that are much less dramatic than jumping off a bridge or something like that. You can kill yourself with a slow suicide by just getting absorbed in someone else's story, whether that's a political story or endless Netflix binging. You can say no to your life by throwing yourself into just pure sensuality, whether that's food or sex or drugs or whatever your escape may be. Saying yes to life is no small thing. And so anyway, I've been journaling about that this morning. And well, I wish it was morning, this afternoon, because I blew the morning. What hit me is that saying yes to life just takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to look at your life and say, yes, I'm in. Because we really don't have a reason. The more we think about it, the more we realize that our reasons are, look at the word reason. Reason as in, I reasoned it out. I thought up. It's interesting that the word reason, as in my justification, my foundation, is a form of reasoning, right? I reason. I give a reason for my existence. And so how do I say yes? Well, if I'm living from the story level where I have to have a reason, I think I'm in for trouble. And as I'm going to share more as we go through this, I have come to the conviction that real life has to start with an existential yes. You face your life as it is, whatever is going on, with all the mistakes that you've made, with your current situation, who you're married to, your income level, everything about your life, how you look, how you feel, all of that. You look at that and you have Hamlet's question, to be or not to be. And nature always, as far as I can see, says yes. It's natural to say yes. But as human beings, because we try to ground our lives in some sort of reason, which you could also say some sort of story, some sort of storyline, some sort of excuse or explanation or understanding or something, some sort of mental construct. Well, there are times when that's really hard. And so we look at our lives and we say no. And there, as I said, there are many ways to check out of life other than to just kill yourself. To me, facing up means starting with yes, looking at my life and having the courage to say, I will live this day. And for me, that looks like something. That looks like leaning into who I really am and my current situation and choosing wonder at the mystery, choosing acceptance of the things that are painful or hurt, choosing compassion for situations and people who create conflict or make me want to withdraw. It's yes, yes, yes on all three levels. And so having chosen a yes to life, having given an existential yes, I'm saying yes to life for the pure sake of life. I choose to live because it's the only way to live. So my yes to life then becomes the foundation for an expression of my life, which could take many forms, many shapes. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is every story breaks down. And so if your life is built on some certain story, you're always facing despair and frustration and running from these specters that tear apart your faith and hope and love. And when you accept that story is an expression of humanity rather than a foundation for it, then story can be a way of embodying your yes in this world, as opposed to a way of like giving a reason for your yes in this world. The picture that comes to mind when I think of that is of someone like trying, who's falling through the air and building a platform beneath their feet as they're falling. I mean, you can't do it. Our reasons for living just always fail. So I don't know. What am I saying today? I guess I'm just saying this is hard stuff. And choosing life is no small thing. I really think it takes courage to look at our lives and say yes. But what a gift our lives are. And what an amazing thing to be alive. And how unnatural and how sad to give a no to life. So I want to be like that little boy in the video that I just shared, the little boy who goes out, facing the mystery of life with enthusiasm, the same way that he faced the mystery of death, and just saying to life all the way, and just saying yes to life all the way along. Keep facing up, my friends. There's life beyond belief.